Ingrid Ricks was a 37-year-old mum of 2 little girls. She went for a routine eye doctor appointment, had already picked out her glasses when the eye doctor summoned him into the office and told her that she had a degenerative eye disease. Ingrid was distraught. It meant that she would be losing her vision. She asked the doctor, "Is there anything that you can do?" And the doctor said, "I'm sorry, but we haven't found anything that helps with this particular eye disease." And she said, "Will I still be able to drive?" The doctor looked at her. He was halfway out of the room already and said, "You're an intelligent woman. You know the answer to that." Her words are so heartfelt, I'm actually going to read them out to you. She says, "I spent the next week huddled in my basement sobbing. I mourned the vision I had lost, but mostly I cried because I was terrified about what awaited me. I cried out of fear I wouldn't see my two daughters, barely 5 and 2, grow up. I cried about lost future candlelit dinners with my husband and about the burden I feared I would become to him. I cried because I couldn't drive anymore and because I was scared I wouldn't be able to work. I cried over lost sunsets and ocean views and any other beautiful scenery I would miss out on. I cried until finally it occurred to me that I could still see, and maybe instead of mourning the unknown future, I should concentrate on now." And she tells us about how she slowly lost her sight. And she tells us about the things that she learned to see while she was losing her sight. Because as her world became more dark, she learned to see her children in the moment and appreciate them. Helen Keller once said that if only every single adult would experience being blind and deaf for 3 days. Imagine that. Close your eyes for a moment. Now open it and look at the world around you. What would you see? What would you look at if you only had 3 more days to see? And perhaps this is why when we say thank you to God in the morning for giving us sight, that we use the expression "who gives sight to the blind." Because if it were not for the fact that God gave us vision, we would be blind. And that's how we should look at it when we wake up in the morning and we open up our eyes. Wow, we can see. What a gift it is to see the faces of those that we love, the food that we eat, the green trees, art, pictures. There are so many gifts that our vision bring to us. And when we stop and we think and we express our gratitude to God for that, we appreciate it so much more. And of course, we could go deeper with this. Hagar, when she was leaving Abraham and Sarah with her son Ishmael, she was in the desert and Ishmael was sick and there was no water around, and she prayed to God to give her son a drink to save his life. And the words that the Torah tells us is that her eyes were opened and suddenly she saw what she couldn't see before. She saw a well and she was able to take a drink and feed and give her son the drink that he so badly needed. But you know what? We use that phrase too. How often do we say, now I see, when what we mean is that now I understand. Because there is no greater joy than clarity. When we have a decision to make and we're not quite sure, it weighs us down. But when we see things, when we are able to understand things, when we have clarity, that gives us joy. So in this blessing in the morning, when we say to God, thank you for giving sight to the blind, we are thanking God, number 1, that we have the gift of vision. And number 2, we are thanking God for giving us clarity. And if we don't yet have clarity, we can ask God for the gift of clarity, for being able to know what we should do with this precious gift of life that God has given us.